Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. 10 years ago today, Nevadans awoke to learn of unspeakable acts of terror. Disbelief, horror, confusion, anger, sadness. We felt all these things. And yet, at the same time, a great sense of patriotism awoke in the collective heart of a nation. Even as America plunged headlong into mourning, the American people took comfort in each other. Consistent with our history of rising to meet any challenge, and we came together as a nation. Regardless of race, color, or creed, we stood as one. And because we stood as one, we rose up, as Americans have throughout our history. On September 11th, 2001, Americans from all walks of life stepped into the breach. They rushed to the aid of those in despair. They stared down danger, regardless of the risk or consequences. For all its horror, 9/11 was also a day that marked the greatness of the American people. And so we remember what we have been and all that we can be. We remember that there is more that unites us than divides us. That when the hour is darkest, we can become one family, one nation. We share a spirit that terror cannot break, the bond that makes us Americans and ensures we will do whatever it takes when the hour of need is upon us. It's in our DNA. We will not, we dare not forget the images of that day, of planes crashing into the Twin Towers, of smoke rising from the Pentagon and a field in Pennsylvania, of the agony of the victims and their families. We dare not forget the sounds of that day, phone calls to loved ones, and the rallying cry, "Let's roll," heard somewhere in the sky over Pennsylvania. Forever now, a timeless symbol of the fearless passengers who woke that morning not knowing they would make the ultimate sacrifice and win the first battle in the war on terror. Much has transpired in our country, in the world, and in our lives in the last 10 years. Events wash over us every day, and sometimes we drift away from the horrific acts that changed the fabric of America. Almost on the eve of this important anniversary, Nevadans were once again shaken to their core by tragedy. The events in Carson City on Tuesday did not play out in faraway places. They struck in the heart of our capital. We are perhaps still too close to this grave loss to have gained the perspective we share on 9/11. But this much we know: heroes walk among us still. We saw this week in Carson City an echo of what the world experienced 10 years ago, and we saw that the same spirit lives in the hearts of our friends and neighbors. It may rest, weary from the load, but it cannot be extinguished. So today we gather in order to remember. Today we reflect. Today we mourn. And today we comfort each other once again, lest we sorrow as those who have no hope. We remember that America remains the greatest nation on earth, an unparalleled fighting force, a mighty republic committed to the ideals of democracy and equality, fairness and the rule of law, freedom of expression and religion, and in the end, committed most of all to each other. For we are a people descended from those who sought the promise of opportunity. It falls to us to keep that promise alive through optimism, courage, and an undying commitment to come together whenever we are called upon. We remember the office workers, the firefighters, the police officers, the airline crews and passengers, the 3,000 souls of ordinary and yet extraordinary Americans whose lives were suddenly and cruelly ended on that day. We remember those tragically lost and injured this very week in our community. We remember the men and women of the United States Armed Forces who for nearly a decade have waged the war on terror in Afghanistan, Iraq, and faraway places. We remember those who have fallen, the wounded warriors who have come home, and the countless soldiers, sailors, airmen who remain deployed. In our remembrance and in our mourning, we find the strength to look ahead. There is suffering in the world, and there are needs in our communities. There is work to be done here at home as well as far-off lands. And so today, we comfort each other, but we must rise every day to continue the work that remains undone. We must commit ourselves to fulfilling America's promise of opportunity through actions as well as remembrance. There can be no greater comfort than that. God bless all of you. God bless the great state of Nevada, and God bless the United States of America, the greatest nation on the face of the earth. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.